Hi everyone.
Hello. We traded roles today. I turned the camera on.
We're pivoting.
Whew, yeah. Okay, so July, what's today? July 8th. Stop monkeying around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's fun. We just saw monkeys. When?
My birthday.
4 days ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 days ago. Yeah.
Yes, we did. That is true. We did see some monkeys. They were really sweet. Okay, so Marcus Aurelius says, "Enough of this miserable, whining life. Stop monkeying around. Why are you troubled? What's new here? What's so confounding? The one responsible? Take a good look. Or just the matter itself. Then look at that. There's nothing else to look at. And as far as the gods go, by now you could try being more straightforward and kind. It's the same whether you've examined these things for 100 years or only 3. Okay, I'm gonna have to unpack this one a little bit.
Yes, me too.
Because I can imagine him writing this to himself as like in a situation. Like he was in a very specific situation. He's like, hey, note to self, remember this. Okay, so he says, enough of this miserable whining life.
So is he whining?
Yeah, I think he's telling himself,
Stop whining.
stop being miserable and stop whining.
Stop whining.
Like acknowledge that this is actually a choice. As crazy as it seems, it's actually a choice to be the kind of, it's not a choice to change the behavior, but it's a choice to say, I want to be this type of person. I want to be the type of person who's not miserable, who's not whining about things. He calls that monkeying around. Stop monkeying around. Like, stop going through life miserable and whining about things. Then he asks himself a bunch of questions. So he says, why are you troubled? It's like, what's bothering you? What's new here? Like, what new thing is emerging from a pattern? Or like, what new way of being here? What's so confounding? So like, what am I all worked up about? Like, what's so confusing? The one responsible. Maybe he means by the one responsible, like, is this within my control or not in my control? And if it is in my control, then I must be responsible for it. And I must like own up to that responsibility.
That one's confusing to me too. Okay, that's okay.
Take a good look. Or just the matter itself. Then look at that. Maybe, or just the matter itself, like, or just look at the facts of the situation, like what's really going on. Then look at that. So look at the matter itself. There's nothing else to look at. And as far as the gods go, by now you could try being more straightforward and kind. He's so funny. And as far as the gods go, by now you could try being more straightforward and kind. So maybe he's saying like, by gods, like, this is what my duty is in this overall experience of life, and therefore I could be more straightforward. I could say more of what I actually mean. I could express myself more clearly. I could beat around the bush less often. And I could do that with kindness. I could do it in a way where I've sort of worked through all of my like reactive ways of saying things that are sort of stabby at other people. And I've like figured out how to communicate that same truth in a way that doesn't prickle other people. but it's still communicating my truth.
Yeah. Yeah, I see it that way. That's great. Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay, so I guess what I'm taking from this is the miserable whining thing. That it's like my job to be aware of when I am miserable and when I am whining about something, even if that awareness happens after the fact, as sometimes is the case. But it's my job to become aware of that and then to stop monkeying around.
Yeah. Yeah. Stop the complaining or something. Yeah, I gotta pay more attention to it too, because it sneaks up on me for sure. Sometimes I go like, hey, like, oh, you know what's crazy? This and this and this, and like, wait, that's kind of a complaint, right? like I want to, explain something that's happening that I maybe don't like, and the way I'm explaining it is through this kind of like, hey, this could be categorized as, like you're just saying, a story that is kind of not in your favor, right? But ultimately it's a complaint.
Yeah, I mean, I think a complaint is sort of like a take on a situation. So there would be a way to communicate that same situation not as a complaint. Like, I'm thinking about this situation that happened at work, which I think maybe I had told you about, of like working with the developer was really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was there was a lot of communication things that at first I was like, I don't like how she is talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to like write my Friday email to my boss that was like, okay, like, and here's my challenges, and I tried to write out my challenge, and I don't like the way she's communicating with me. I don't like the way she's communicating with me. And then I was like, I don't like the way I'm communicating with her.
Mm-hmm.
Holy.
That was the takeaway. You're like,
yeah.
You're like, oh wait, this is actually how I am. Like, yes, there's something I don't like that I'm getting from this thing, but maybe that's a result of how I am
right
talking to it or something in some way.
And it was a total shift.
And you weren't talking in some sort of like a bad way, but just maybe not the way that she was set up to take that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And before, like, I don't like how she's communicating with me was putting me in the seat of like, well, I am already communicating the best way, and if she doesn't get it, then that's like,
it's on her.
Right. And then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, no, it's my job to like figure out what she will be receptive to. And so I have to take it on myself. And it's so interesting, the moment I shifted it, like my whole relationship to the situation changed. Mm-hmm. I was just like, all of a sudden I was like, I want to try something different. Mm-hmm. Versus before I was like, I don't want to try something different. I'm already communicating the best way. Why would I would do something different?
I need to change?
Me?
Sweet. All right, let's see what Ryan's got to say for us.
Okay. Ryan says, character, Joan Didion would write in one of her best essays. The willingness to accept responsibility for one's own life is the source from which self-respect springs. Marcus is urging us not to waste time complaining about what we haven't got or how things have worked out. We have to quit monkeying around and be the owners of our own lives. Character can be developed, and when it is, self-respect will ensue. But that means starting and getting serious about it. Not later, not after certain questions have been answered or distractions dealt with, but now, right now. Taking responsibility is the first step. To be without this character is the worst of all fates. As Didion put it on self-respect, to live without self-respect is to lie awake some night beyond the reach of warm milk, the phenobarbital, and the sleeping hand on the coverlet, counting up the sins of commission and omission, the trusts betrayed, the promises subtly broken, the gifts irrevocably wasted through sloth or cowardice or carelessness. You're so much better than that. Joan Didion. But I like how he tied it, like the complaining with the self-respect.
Yeah.
That if I am someone who complains a lot, it has a relationship with self-respect and not in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah. And I totally see that connection there. Yeah, it's like I'm putting myself down because this is happening to me and it shouldn't, right? And
yeah, you're like stripping yourself of your power.
Yeah.
So how could you respect yourself?
Yeah. You don't respect yourself. Yeah. That's how subtle it is. It's like, well, no, I don't like this. This is not what's supposed to be happening. Like that's not cool, and I cannot deal with it. Therefore, this whole system cannot deal with this. That's why we're so upset about it, because this is not what's supposed to happen, right? So I'm like, so then like I'm talking to this whole system as this system is incapable of dealing with hard stuff, right? But it's like, well, I'm the operator of the system, so I'm not letting it to go into the hard stuff, but it's an excuse of that operator, not of the system, but the operator blames the system for it.
Right.
And this is the BS. This is ego, ultimately, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So subtle, because it's so nice. It feels like, no, you can just sit here and do nothing. That's right. That's the better way, right? But it's actually pulling us off from experiencing the hard stuff that we need to experience, not avoid it. It's like, come on, man. Come on, come on, operator friend. Yeah.
Dang. That quote by Joan Didion is so. I want to read this essay on self-respect. I wonder if we have it in the library already. But you know what? Maybe what I'll do is I'll put the Joan Didion quote also in the description on YouTube, cool. Because it's like such a cool description of like what happens, like what life feels like when you have no self-respect. Man, all right, well, cool, this was a good one. Let's do it tomorrow.